this really is one of the most important issues facing humanity, and something we are really going to have to take very seriously in the coming years and decades. The science community is nearly unanimous, much greater than 99%, in concluding that human activities are causing the majority of the human causing the majority of the climate change that is occurring. Now, the media probably leaves you confused because you probably wouldn't realize that reading the media, because there is a group out there, a group of people, who are putting out a lot of misleading information, and too often the media treats it that they have to treat them as equals with the science community in terms of trying to present the news. But, and by the way, we call that group confusionists. We don't call them skeptics, because any good scientist is a skeptic. But in fact, every major science organization in the world, and examples being the American Association for Advancement of Science, the American Physics Society, the American Chemical Society, the Ecological Society of America, the American Geophysical Union, on and on and on, have all come out with very strong statements about the importance of this issue. So it represents the vast majority of the scientists around the world. The scientific evidence is clear. Global climate change caused by human activities is occurring now, and it is a growing threat to society. It is time to muster the political will for concerted action. Stronger leadership at all levels is needed. The time is now. We must rise to the challenge. We owe this to future generations. Next, please. One other quote. This is 13 National Academies of Sciences recently made a statement. This is actually from their statement they made last year, but they actually just redid the statement in the last month with very similar kind of statements that, and it's just part of it is unequivocal that the climate is changing. It is very likely that this is dominantly caused by the increasing human interference with the atmosphere. These changes will transform the environmental conditions on Earth, and thus countermeasures are taken. Now, this was signed by the National Academies of Sciences from 13 countries, including the United States. All the G8 countries plus 5 other major countries are listed at the bottom. The climate of the Midwest is changing and will continue to change in coming years, and I'll talk a little bit more detail about that. So these are kind of the key findings I really want you to take home. Next. Because of these changes and the changes that would occur in the coming decades, and we can be sure that there will be continuing changes, and I hope to talk a little bit more about that, the character of the Midwest as we know it is at risk. Go on. Climate change magnifies existing health and environmental problems in the Midwest, so it isn't just climate by itself, it exacerbates other issues. And finally, we can really do something about the worst of this. Our climate future is in our hands. The cost of inaction could far outweigh the cost of action. Well, what's happening in the Midwest? Temperatures are rising, especially in the winter. This year was a bit of an anomaly because of the La Nina event, for cold water in the eastern Pacific off of Peru that led to this being a much colder winter for us than normal. But overall, the long-term trends is that the temperatures have been rising in the Midwest, particularly in the winter. As we'll see later on, we expect that all seasons will be increasing in the future. Extreme rainfall events are becoming more frequent after what's happened the last few weeks. Maybe I don't even need to mention that, but in fact, in general, that's been true. And I did write this long before these recent events. And winters have become shorter. Spring is coming a little earlier in general. The growing season has been lengthening by about a week in our area, and the duration of ice cover is shorter. And that's particularly true in Wisconsin and Minnesota, where many ice festivals essentially have been not been held in December's recent years because of lack of ice. So why is all this happening? Well, all of our analysis indicate that it's just not Mother Nature and natural variability in the climate system, that in fact we cannot explain these changes that are occurring not only in the Midwest, but occurring worldwide, in some cases much larger than what we're seeing in the Midwest, as a result of the fact that the concentrations of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are increasing. Carbon dioxide is one of the key greenhouse gases. Greenhouse effect is a natural effect. Without it, we wouldn't be here because we would have an ice-covered planet. But because of these gases in the atmosphere, that includes water vapor, carbon dioxide, ozone, and some other gases, we're able to live here. Well, what's happening though is we're increasing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, and that's leading to substantial changes in the temperature system. So let me go on now, and we'll talk a little bit about what kind of concerns do we have about changes going on over this century. Temperature, we expect temperatures to increase in all seasons over the coming century. I'll give you a little bit of a hint for the Midwest in a few minutes. We expect that there'll be significant changes in seasonal behavior. Springs will come sooner. Ice cover will further decline. Basically, we expect more precipitation in winter and spring, and less or equal to what we have now in fall and winter in the Midwest. A strong likelihood of more extreme events, large flooding events, but also in the summers because of times of less precipitation and extreme heat. We may find that we also have more droughts. So higher probability of both droughts and floods in the Midwest as a result. What? So this is some analysis of some of the model results we did recently for this U.S. National Assessment. This is a low scenario, this is temperature, this is precipitation, this is changes. The colors here just represent changes in temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, and that's a high scenario. Basically, the range of changes projected for the end of the century is +5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit increase in temperature in the winter, about a 0 to 25%, tending towards the 25% over much of the Midwest for the winter in precipitation. Next slide, please. And that'll be for the summer. And the increase in the summer is 5 to 13 degree increase projected. And as I said, current emissions are higher than that highest scenario, so we'll have to see what happens in the future. And the precipitation is projected to actually decrease by up to 25% over much of the Midwest. Here's where Illinois is now in terms of its climate. What will its climate be like by the end of this century? And this is for kind of a mid-range scenario, not either the high or the low one. And basically, Illinois summers by the end of the century look more like eastern Texas. Extreme health issues, or health issues related to this. Extreme heat is a major concern because of heat waves. Heat wave in 1995 killed 700 people roughly in the Chicago area, and particularly elderly and young and poor. And the question is, well, how often might we see such heat waves in the future? Well, in 1995 type heat wave will become regular by the end of the century. Air quality problems are likely to get worse. Water and vector-borne diseases are also likely to become a larger problem. Concerns like Lyme disease are likely to increase because of better conditions for the mosquitoes and ticks, etc., that can carry such diseases. Agriculture, which is certainly very important to us in the Midwest and Decatur and Champaign-Urbana region, is kind of a mixed blessing as far as our analysis tells. The increase in carbon dioxide is likely to result in an increased growth of plants. The longer growing season is likely to help. On the other hand, the drier soils in the summer, overall drier soils, the extreme heat in the summer, the higher possibility of flooding and extreme weather in the springtime, the farmers are trying to plant just like they were this year, are likely to have increased probability of such issues. So we need to be able to adapt. So adaptation has to be part of our policy. Avoiding the unmanageable means mitigating further changes, avoiding the worst of the changes, the things that we really don't want to see happen. But it is clear that one of the things we do need to do is develop new technology. New technology is really how we're going to, in the long run, get out of this problem. To note that our future will depend on the nature of human aspirations, values, preferences, and choices. It's up to us. If we have the willpower, we can solve this problem.